Greetings, friends and family, and Facebook and YouTube and whoever's watching. I hope you are well. I got the flu or something at least very similar to it. I did have a flu shot, so I don't know if that meant that I didn't get it as bad or if maybe I got a variation or whatever. But I started getting congested on Thursday. Thought it was allergies. Woke up in the middle of the night, Thursday night, with a fever and chills and completely stuffed head and chest. Slept all day Friday, like literally got up, dealt with my subplants, went back to bed, and stayed in bed until afternoon. But the good news is that between sleeping all day Friday and most of Saturday, I am pretty much okay now. My fever has gone away. I haven't had it all day. And I am ready to go back to work a little bit tonight and tomorrow. So in other news, well, actually, it's really good that it didn't hit me that hard because my immune system is probably still compromised. My blood work is actually starting to tend to trend more towards normal. So even though I had those 2 doses of chemotherapy, my white blood cells are getting better. So in other news, my hair is slowly starting to grow back. You really can't see it maybe, but there are little hairs. I lost about 70%, I'd say. And so I have some longer hairs that, sort of peach fuzzy hairs that are left over that never fell out. And then I'm starting to get little tiny ones that are growing in from where they were completely killed off. So I am super excited about that because the medication that I was on has a 5% chance that your hair will never grow back. So I was really hoping that this was not a permanent situation. I kind of do miss having hair. It's not the end of the world, but I'm happy. Let's see, another news, more important news than my hair. All those test results came back, and there was an incidental finding when they were checking me out. The incidental finding was scary to hear about, but the cancer doctor double-checked everything and thinks that everything is probably fine. They're going to monitor me a little bit more closely just to make sure, but she thinks the incidental finding was nothing. It was just an old issue that might have been there from before that any of this even started. And that that's a benign issue, not a cancerous issue. So very, very big fingers crossed for that. But while they did all that extra testing, they also tested my heart really well, and it turns out my heart is very strong. So that's very good. My heart has not been affected negatively by any of this. In the very rare case that my heart is negatively affected by the radiation, I now have baseline testing too, which is good. But it shouldn't be because they take precautions to help it from not get affected. But there's always the small side effects. It's the big side effects that affect a small number of people, I should say. So I did, by the way, start radiation on Thursday, and I was not able to go on Friday because I had a fever. But I have 19 doses of radiation every weekday going forward until the beginning of March. And I don't know if I will still have 19 since I had to skip a day. I don't know if they'll reset me to 19 or if I'm down to 18. I think I'm down to 18, but they'll clarify everything in the morning when I go back. Let's see. Radiation was interesting. It's a very interesting machine. It's a bit like a CAT scan, only it had these arms that came up over my head and they spun, so they aligned themselves exactly just right. And there was this little monitor and a line on the monitor where it went up and down with my breath because there's a box on my stomach to measure my breathing. And then there was a little thing on the monitor, and I had to hold my breath in that window. And if it falls out of that window, then the machine cuts off because that's when it's getting too close to my heart. Because basically when you're breathing, your heart gets closer and further from your rib cage. or I guess opposite, your rib cage gets closer and further than from your heart, but relative motion, right? So I had to play that breathing game. And the first couple of times they had me hold my breath, it was easy peasy because it was just like seconds. But the last two times they had me hold my breath, it was like 30 seconds, and I was really struggling. I have not held my breath very much lately, and I meant to practice after that, but then all of a sudden I couldn't breathe. So I have not practiced, so it's probably going to be a challenge in the morning. But once this all clears up, I should be able to do that pretty well. It was totally painless. You can't feel it at all. It's like having an x-ray. You can't tell anything's going on. I did feel a little bit of sort of like, not really tingling, but a kind of like tingling in the area. Could have been psychosomatic, could have been real. I really don't know. But I really shouldn't feel anything for at least the first week. And then the fatigue and the burning will build, but hopefully never get that bad. So again, fingers crossed. So that's where things stand now. I go back at 7 a.m. tomorrow morning for dose number 2 of radiation. I go back to see my cancer doctor, and I see the radiation doctor next week. I see the oncologist for the chemotherapy and the overall checking of everything in a couple weeks. And then in a couple months, I have another scan to check that incidental finding and make sure that it's still looking the same and not changing the way it would if it's cancer cells. So, and then they've already scheduled me for my September follow-up mammogram, to follow me more closely with that too. So it's just a lot of appointments. But I am doing good, other than not being absolutely healthy in terms of whatever this is that I caught. But I am doing good. I hope you are too. Thank you.